What the hell's so funny, Doc?
Because simultaneously we both checked our hats.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another week of Wrestling with Wrestling. I'm Steve, joined as always by Doc, who you just saw already. We are going to talk wrestling as we always do, and we'll start by responding to some of your questions from last week. But first, Doc, you and I and our buddy Sean had a little bit of an adventure over the weekend.
We did. I'm actually sporting that shirt right now.
Yeah, we all three attended the Pennsylvania State Atheist Humanist Conference in Harrisburg, which was our first atheist conference, and it was pretty cool, man, wasn't it?
I had a blast. I mean, I got to meet some people. My biggest amazement was walking in there with you because people that I've listened to for a while on podcasts like Seth Andrews. People that like Aaron Ra's already my friend on Facebook. He's been my friend for a while. I think it was during some type of multi-chat thing that you guys were doing, and I just threw out the question, how many of you guys have a YouTube channel? And Aaron answered me, and since then we had been friends. I've also thrown a few other friends. Lee is now my friend on Facebook, which is cool, and Mark Nebo is now my friend here on Facebook, which is really cool. But yeah, I mean, Seth Andrews comes up and talks to you because he recognizes you, and Matt Dillahunty comes up. I mean, Jesus, we were sitting in the lobby just shooting the shit, and Matt Dillahunty just comes down and sits right on the couch and it's like, I'm like, are you kidding? Are you shitting me? So I mean, in times like that, it's really good to know a guy like you. So I had a blast this weekend. And I did get to pick up my Darwin fish and my Evolve fish. So they're going to be going on Starbug here very soon.
Yeah, it was a really great time. That was the first time for me meeting Seth and Matt and Aaron and Lalandra, Aaron's wife, who is amazing, in person. I had talked to them all to various degrees online for a while, but this was our first time meeting in person, and it was really cool that they because I'm actually pretty shy, and they're very busy, and they're always being, approached by people because they're very prominent people in the atheist movement, and to have them like come up to me and say hi is just fucking weird, but really cool, So yeah, we had a great time, and all of their talks were great. They were all really cool people, and not just those guys that we've spoken about, but all the speakers were awesome. I mean, Mandisa Thomas gave a great talk. Muhammad Syed gave a great talk. Teresa McBain. They were all just phenomenal. Richard Carrier. Yeah.
I give a big clap because I've watched a lot more since, that's the first time I got to listen to Richard Carrier in one of his, I call it kind of a lecture, you're learning shit, and the way he presented his evidence and everything was phenomenal. I've got on YouTube and watched a few more of those, the one where did Jesus even exist? It's brilliant stuff. It's so educational. The evidence is out there, and if follow Aaron Ra on YouTube, look up Richard Carrier on YouTube. Or you know what, if you don't have the internet, or you're probably not watching this, but go down to your local public library, man. There's a whole fucking list of books down there. I mean, if you're liking this because you're a wrestling fan, I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to put that out there. I don't want to offend you, but if you're just a wrestling fan and that's why you're watching this, you are watching an atheist-based, because we're atheists. So we do promote that. Go down to your local library and look up all those facts, because they're right there for you, free for you to look at. I mean, go ahead. I challenge you to do that, man. Just do it. Knowledge is power. It truly is.
Absolutely. And if you're like Doc and I, and you're atheists, and you're interested in, talking about atheism or talking about religion, and a conference is being held near you and you can afford it, you can afford to make the trip, I would highly recommend going, because it was an awesome experience. Great talks from everybody and great chance to meet people. Just couldn't have had a better time. So that was great. Now let's get back to the main reason why we gather here every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern, to talk about pro wrestling. And as we usually do, we want to start by responding to some questions and comments from you guys. We start every show by taking a handful of comments and questions that you left on the previous show. So, of course, if you want to hear your comment or your question addressed in our next episode, leave a comment on this episode, and we'll get to the most interesting ones at the beginning of next week's show. But for now, Doc, what are some of our questions that we have from some of our viewers this week?
I don't know. Always got the questions asking the good doctor, but I'll tell you, I'm going to read them for you. Yeah! I'm going to get down to the questions. Here we go. Yeah!
The cream of the crop!
Let's start with another good doctor, Dr. Pink. Love the name. He says, what do you guys make of these rumors about the Hardy Boys making a return? Would you like to see a Dudleys versus Hardys feud?
I mean, I read something on a wrestling website that I frequent today about apparently there's interest, like when the Hardys, they're still under contract with TNA, but apparently WWE has made it known that they would be interested in re-signing them when their TNA deals are up. I mean, personally, I've seen the Dudleys versus the Hardys. I saw that 15 years ago, and it was awesome. I mean, I loved it at the time. I mean, and I guess if they want to bring the Hardys in to help put over new talent or to help sort of give another little boost to the tag team division as they try to rebuild it and get some new talent over. I mean, if they used it for that, I think it would be great, because I think Matt and Jeff still have a lot of the name value, and they're still, good workers. And if Jeff has his head on straight and Matt has his head on straight, then I think they could be great. But I mean, I'm not dying to see the Dudleys wrestle the Hardys again, because I've seen that already. I mean, I'm sure if they did it again, it would be a good match, but it's not something that I'm like biting my nails and waiting to see, because I've seen that already. I don't know. What do you think, Doc?
Well, I think it's just would be another example of what I like to call the attitude versus the guys who really should be, be up at the top tier by now, mashup, which kind of sucks. Dudley Boys come busting back in the door, and of course, as we know, they got a championship title match at Night of the Champions, and of course they have wrestled a few of the people, but no, I mean, personally, yeah, I've seen it before. Unless the Dudley Boys and Hardy Boys are going to go at it personally, which we've seen, that's old hat. But it's as far as entering them into what is currently should be the rising tag team crop. I don't care for that, just interacting with them and making them seem like they're still relevant. It's like they should be, learning the lessons. It's like we need to pull an Undertaker back into the fold just so he can bring some of these, older generation wrestlers and say, okay, it's time to give back to the business. You've had your moment in the sunshine. So let's, go out gracefully and give back so this business continues to grow. Yeah, definitely. I think that if they, like I say, if they bring the Hardys in and they use them to put the new guys over, I think that's fine. But if they, like you said, you hit the nail on the head when you said it's the Attitude Era versus the new guys. They are so obsessed with the Attitude Era. And the more they bring out all these Attitude Era guys and keep putting over how awesome the Attitude Era was, the more they just underline the fact that the new era has been, they haven't come up with anything really that successful since the Attitude Era. And the Attitude Era has been over for 15 years now. I mean, it's great for Steve Austin that he's on the cover of next year's video game. But what the fuck does that say about everybody who's actually on the roster? Anyway. Well, our next question comes from, and I always love it when a person of the other gender tends to comment on our show, which I love it. That a woman or a female, young female, however, I'm speculating, is watching us. So thanks, Jennifer Gordon. She says, "Hey, Doc and Steve, my question for you guys. This is a thinker one. Who do you think is the most overrated wrestler, and who is the most underrated? How would you guys build up the underrated wrestler to get him the credit he or she deserves?"
Ooh,
that's harder.
That's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in WWE right now, and probably for the last 15 years at least, I'll say the last 10 years, because there was a period in his career where he was actually legitimately really good. But I would say most overrated would be Triple H. Not because he was bad in any sense, because he was actually pretty good when he was in his prime, and he's still pretty good today when he is in the zone, when he turns it on, but Triple H is a guy who has been pushed to be just as good as, you know, the all-time greats. Like Triple H is talked about on that same level as guys like Hogan or Austin or Rock. And he's just not anywhere close to that level, if you ask me. I mean, Triple H is a solid talker. He is at times a really fucking awesome worker. And he's had some great matches and some great feuds. But I mean, if you look at the real top guys in the business over the last 15, 20 years, I'm thinking of guys like, you know, Steve Austin and The Rock. And if we're talking just in terms of work rate, you know, guys like Kurt Angle or Chris Jericho or Chris Benoit before he broke bad and did that horrible thing that he did, or Eddie Guerrero, or, I mean, there are guys that just outclass Triple H, both in terms of overness and showmanship and in terms of just ring talent. And I just don't think that it makes any sense, other than he's really tied in politically, to push him as one of the all-time greats. I just don't think that fits. So he would be my pick for most overrated. And as for underrated right now, I would say probably someone like Bo Dallas, who has, I think, potential to be like a really great honky-tonk man sort of, you know, annoying heel gimmick where you just are dying to see him get his ass kicked, but he always ends up escaping, you know. He always ends up getting away and not getting his comeuppance. And for whatever reason, they just have him come out every few weeks to get squashed by somebody. And instead of playing up that gimmick that he really used for his last year in NXT really well, that he was the annoying guy who everybody hated, but who always somehow snuck away without getting what he had coming to him. And Bo is a good talker and he's a good worker. And I don't get why he's being buried and being used so poorly. So those would be my choices.
Well, if it comes to the most overrated wrestler of all fucking time, to me, it's going to have to go with WCW's build-up of Bill fucking Goldberg. I mean, that guy had no appreciation for the business. He was put into a spot, made some big fucking moolah, made a lot of fucking fans. And there are fans out there today, and he still gets credit when you go to these wrestling websites and look at the news. You know, you hear what fucking Bill Goldberg's doing. I'm like, he is completely irrelevant to this business, but for some reason, he still makes headlines. Right now, CM Punk's doing the same shit. He's done with the fucking wrestling business for now, I guess. He's still young, but he's making fucking headlines in the wrestling columns and the wrestling news. And I don't want to see that shit. You're done with wrestling. You don't make fucking wrestling news anymore. Bill Goldberg never appreciated the business. You got in there to make a splash, to make the dollar, and fucking business saw something in him because he was a fucking Stone Cold Steve Austin ripoff, and you know, fabricated his win-loss record to make him a big deal. Squashes fucking a legend like Hulk Hogan. I mean, and ran rampant through fucking WCW, you know, and then he comes to WWF and flip within a year he's done because he can't handle actually being a real WWE superstar. So what it takes to be one of those guys. So Bill Goldberg, huge overrated. Right now, underrated. There's a lot of underrated wrestlers that I really love. You know, I mean, Adam Rose obviously is one. He's recently changed up his gimmick again to some party poop Adam Rose. Damian Sandow, absolutely. Could take him seriously at one point. But I'm not sure at this right now because, you know, he's changed his gimmicks up so many times. Now he's back to the whole scholar thing. I've seen that recently. Heath Slater, who's been, you know, in several different factions and has been successful, goes up there time and time again, has been part of that whole Legends. I mean, he's done some great things, Heath Slater, but for some reason he just does not get that push. These are the three, I would say these are the top three underrated guys. You know, I guess and a way to push them is to maybe throw them all together and tell them they're tired of their fucking shit because it's time that, you know, you guys who have been, you know, pushing your talent to get them to the top, you know, doing the job because it's good for business. I'm tired of that bullshit. Have a group of those and build a faction together of underlings that are rising up of revolution. That'll be the regular revolution, not the Divas revolution, which I'm absolutely sick and tired of hearing about it this time. Yeah,
I agree with you. It would be nice, you know, that idea of taking all the under-pushed guys and putting them in a stable together, like that's not a bad idea, and they've tried things like that before. But they could also just fucking push guys. Just put them on TV and make them look good. Let them win. Let them cut promos. Let them work with people a little bit higher up and win and look good. Like they make things so complicated, and they don't need to be this complicated. You don't need to take the fact that they've not been properly pushed and make that their storyline. You can just start pushing them, and people will get it. You know.
Well, to me, it's never that complicated because it all comes down to the promo and how you can get over and how you can sell T-shirts and how you can bring in the money from the merchandise. Because when I see these guys who do get over, and I'm talking about you, Stone Cold Steve Austin, I'm talking about you, The Rock. You have your 5 key moves, and the rest between that is like punching, kicking, maybe some slams, and rest holds.
Yeah.
These are your matches. And John Cena is the same. I think he's realizing at this point and trying to add a few more things to his repertoire, but he still is the same. And you know, heard you loud and clear Monday night, John. We'll get to that. Last question comes from Jaron Creed, who asked, have any of you two ever wrestled?
Well, I haven't. But Doc, of course, you can answer that question.
Yes, I've been in the. I'm currently not in the wrestling business. I'm doing other projects like doing filming now. I'm 40 years old. Just be honest, I'm 40 years old, and my body's just not really taking it anymore. I did wrestling for about 8 years. In the 90s, I was trained by Neil the Power Superior and Sexy Shane Shadows here in Hagerstown, Maryland, at the Neil Superior Pro Wrestling School. And I've been doing that, traveled up and down the roads with murderers like Jimmy Snuka, partied in hotel rooms and smoked weed with people like Bam Bam Bigelow. I mean, I ate at Denny's with a still dead but currently a whore, Chris Candido and Sonny. Wait, is that too soon? Just telling the truth when it comes to wrestling, people. So yeah, I've been up and down the road with a lot of freaking legends, and then I got out of the business because the bottom dropped out in the 90s, as you know, the whole Attitude Era, and there was no money in it. Nobody was showing up to independent shows. Yeah. So I got out because I needed to get my shit together. You hit that 30 wall, and you realize that you ain't got life like set yet. So you got to take into realization. That's where I got my whole meat delivering job, and I've been there for 10 years. It gave me the luxury of getting back into business because I have got my shit together, home owned, car owned, all that stuff. Yeah. But I didn't really want to wrestle because I loved my job, so I got back in as a referee, and bam, that really opened up doors. Got to meet like even more bigger current stars like Kurt Angle. Got to party and cut hair with Brutus the Barber Beefcake. But so yeah, I've wrestled. I've been around the block a few times. But thanks for your question.
Yeah. Doc, I think you and I have talked about this before, but I'm pretty sure when you were just starting to wrestle on the independents around here with the NWL group, the Dick Karakoff's group, when you were Doc Hollywood, I'm pretty sure you worked a show at my high school, at Clear Spring High School, and I was there. And I saw you, and I saw that show, and I saw you work that show. And of course, then 20 years later, here we are, buddies. So
I was probably wearing the spandex. It was they were probably long black spandex with a reflective strip that wrapped around the legs. Yeah. And, I did that on purpose because that when you took pictures of me, it looked like my legs were lighting up. So it's like a red eye, but for my legs.
That's great. Yeah. So yeah, it was. Yeah, I remember Doc Hollywood back in the first part of your career. And now, of course, when Doc works a show every once in a while, he's usually a referee, and what an awesome referee, the best referee in all of independent wrestling, I think. Well, speaking of wrestling, let's get into this week's episode of Raw. They were live this week from Memphis, Tennessee.
Man, I'm from Nashville, Tennessee. That's a real dick move of you.
It's a little shout. It's a little shout out to Andy Kaufman.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
I'm not from Memphis, Tennessee, Jerry Lawler.
I'm from Hollywood.
Yeah. I've got the brains. Yeah. So they're in Memphis. This is the last Raw before Night of Champions, which is this Sunday. So of course, a little bit later we'll have our predictions for that show. But Raw starts out with Triple H and Stephanie coming to the ring, and they have just so much shit to do for this opening segment. First, they want to push Connor's Cure, which is their charity that they've started to raise money for pediatric cancer. September is Pediatric Cancer Awareness Month, and they have a yellow rope in the middle. The middle rope of the ring is yellow to signify Pediatric Cancer Awareness Month. So they get that in, and then they hype tonight's show, which of course is the season premiere of Monday Night Raw. Even though the show doesn't have an off season, they still want to push the season premiere. And it's a big show because there's a tag team title match, there's a Divas title match, and they announce Sting is also going to wrestle. It's going to be the first ever match on Raw for Sting, and he's going to wrestle the Big Show. So that's like a really big deal. And then they throw right to the tag team title match. A New Day comes out to defend the titles, and before everybody leaves the ring, Stephanie and Triple H dance with the New Day in the ring before they leave, which was kind of funny. I actually thought that this segment, for what it was pretty good. It was short. It was only about 10 minutes. They didn't go on forever. They got a lot of shit in. They, pushed 3 or 4 things in the 10 minutes, and then they got right out and got straight to the match. It would have been nicer if they would have just started with the match and talked about this other stuff here and there throughout the rest of the 3-hour show. Like, I would much rather see them just fucking open up with a match right out of the gate, start with the bell ringing, and here comes the New Day, and welcome to Monday Night Raw. That'd be awesome if they would do that. But for what it was decent. It was not nearly as bad as these opening segments usually are. What'd you think, Doc?
I completely agree with you. There was no need for it. They could have went right into this matchup and had what they call commentators who are sitting there who would do the job, who like just over and over again, just branch it into your fucking memory. Like, I like the whole season premiere. I like what's going on tonight. They could have done that. It's just that necessity of getting the authority on camera. And Stephanie, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it was that dress you're wearing, but it was looking a little thick. I mean, not bad. Not bad by my taste. I would get out of my bed, lady. But for TV, you're looking a little thicker than, maybe it's just my wife's thing. I don't know. I mean, did you see that she was looking a little thicker than normal?
I didn't notice anything in particular, but I'll go back and watch.
But yeah, no dancing and Triple H's best chances, or best. I'm sorry. Yeah, Triple H can't dance. The white man can't dance. So obviously, all those years with DX, the only thing he can do is chop his crotch.
Yeah.
Stephanie looked pretty good. But New Day coming down there, got the red digs on, looking good, looking sharp, and I'm still loving Xavier Woods with that trombone.
Yeah, absolutely. Xavier with that trombone is great. Doc, your audio is breaking up a little bit when you're talking. I can make you out, but it's kind of crackly. So. Yeah, so that was the opening segment. Not bad. Would have been nice to just skip to the match. So let's just skip to the match while we're talking about it. The match, of course, is the New Day defending the tag titles against the primetime players, Titus O'Neil and Darren Young. And you know what? This is a pretty good match for an opening match. The champions win, of course, because they're going into the tag title match with the Dudleys on Sunday. So Big E and Kofi retain here, and because they're heels and because they're awesome heels, they retain because they cheated. Xavier Woods got up on the apron and was playing his trombone and distracted Titus O'Neil, and Titus ended up falling prey to their double team finish, and the New Day wins the match, retains the title, goes on this Sunday to defend against the Dudley Boys. And yeah, like you said a minute ago, Doc, I mean, Xavier with that trombone is fucking great. Whoever's idea that was deserves a raise, because he is so funny with that thing. And he does, I mean, when he plays along, when they're doing spots, when they're doing like an Irish whip spot, and he goes I mean, it's just perfect. It's really great. So yeah, I thought it was a pretty good opening match.
Yeah, they definitely nailed something. And if New Day isn't going to be like the top baby faces by the time Night Champions is over, then something is absolutely wrong with it. These guys have got it all going on, you know, with the dancing, getting on the table, they're having a good time. I mean, they show what having a good time is better than Adam Rose showed you what his good time was. That was a little, you know, a little kind of retarded. We're not into that kind of stuff. But, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to sound retarded, but yeah, New Day, fucking classic shit, man. I'm loving that. And it's tight as just fucking fuck, man. Xavier was outside of that ring, putting that trombone the whole time, and now you're gonna let that distract you?
Yeah.
Silly move. Loss was your fault. Tight match. But let's move on. I mean, yeah, that whole finish thing was kind of, that's the whole psychology. It's like that thing was going the whole time. You let that last minute distract you. And that's where it kind of went south for me, but still, you know, the whole thing, the whole picture is nice. There's kind of like a little stroke there. It's out of place.
Yeah. Yeah. The finishes, I think, for the most part on this show were kind of weak, but they've been weak for a long time anyway. They don't put any thought into finishes at all. Yeah. And I had something else to say, but I completely forgot what it was. So let's move on to the next match. Yeah, I know, right? Right. So the next match is a Divas match. It is Sasha Banks, who really ought to be the star of the Divas division at this point because she's the most over one of all of them. Sasha Banks versus Paige. Sasha defeats Paige by submission when she locks in the Banks statement after there's a little kerfluffle outside the ring where Sasha gets pulled outside and Paige tries to do a dive, and then Tamina's there and pulls Sasha out of the way, so Paige misses the dive. They roll back in the ring, and Paige gets caught in the Banks statement, Sasha's submission move, and Sasha wins the match. And then after the match, Team Bad, which is Sasha and Tamina and Naomi, jump Paige and Becky Lynch, and they have them outnumbered 3-2 because Charlotte wasn't out there because Charlotte was getting ready for her title match later, so she didn't come out to support Paige during this match. And because it's 3-on-2, Team BAD beats down Team PCB. So there you go. I still feel like this Divas Revolution thing has just completely lost all of its steam. But I guess it's nice that the Divas get 2 matches on the 3-hour show instead of 1 match. This is because this is of course just sort of a setup for the Divas title match that happens later. So, I mean, it's an improvement from where it was 6 months ago, but you know, it's not nearly as awesome as they are trying to convince us that it is, you know?
Ironically, the last time that Paige faced off against Sasha Banks, well, I mean, Monday night, I had some chili, and ironically, the last time they faced off, I was eating chili. And the last time they faced off before that, I was eating chili. So maybe I should stop eating chili. So that we move on to maybe having some of these other divas step up and give their see what they got against these really top-notch fucking women wrestlers. I guess they don't really have anything to offer because for some reason Naomi or anyone will step up. It's always got to be Sasha Banks. It's got to be that new crop, including Paige, of course, who's looked a little bit weaker in my eyes because she is constantly losing to the boss. But yeah, I mean, good stuff. And Sasha Banks, yeah, she's got it. I loved that the New Day did a little cosplay of Bad. I saw the picture where they were all dressed up like each member of Bad. So it's pretty funny. If Big E was Sasha Banks.
Yeah, I saw that. That was pretty great. Yeah, I know. But yeah, you're right. They've been really booking Paige to be super weak. And it doesn't bode well for, like, I kind of get the feeling that, you know, eventually, hopefully they're going to break these 3-man factions up, you know, so PCB will sort of split up and maybe one of them, you know, Charlotte will win the title and then Paige will turn heel on Charlotte. So they can feud. Maybe that's just a guess from the way things have been going, but you know, they do that and who cares? Paige is a loser. Paige has lost on TV like 3 weeks in a row. You know, you can't make someone look super weak and then turn them heel and expect us all to give a shit. You know, she needs to be winning some matches, and she's looking so weak that if they're not careful, they're going to have to like, thaw Natty Neidhart out of whatever fucking cryogenic freeze chamber they have her in, because she's never on Raw anymore, and put her back in the ring, which, I mean, wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, because Natty's awesome, and I don't know why she's not on TV all the time wrestling in the Divas division anyway. Talk about underrated from that question.
Easy on the eyes. Woo.
She's beautiful. She's still relatively young. She can work her fucking ass off.
Very charismatic.
I don't know why she's not a part of the Divas Revolution. She's, an awesome wrestler. I don't know. So next, moving on with Raw is Ms. TV, the worst talk show segment that they've probably ever had. Not Miz's fault, because Miz is great when he's allowed to be a heel and he can heel on the crowd. Like, Miz is awesome, but the Miz TV just always ends up being pointless and boring. And this week his guests are the Wyatt family, and the Wyatts come out, and Bray sits down, but he tells Miz not to sit, which I thought was nice. It was a cool touch. He says, "Miz, do not sit down. You're not safe here." Which, okay, cool. And then Bray talks about how he wants to make Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose suffer for their sins. They're going to pay for everything that they've done. And then Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose come out. They walk down through the crowd and get in the ring and get right up face to face with the Wyatt family. And Roman says that even though they've attacked people who look like they might be their partner, including Randy Orton and including Jey Uso, who Roman acknowledges is his cousin, and tells Wyatt, you're going to pay for that. You attacked my family, and you're going to pay for that. I thought that was a nice touch, because it made Roman seem like he's a human being with emotions. And he says, "Look, don't worry about it. There's just two of us now, just me and Dean, but we found a partner, and we're going to have a third man at the pay-per-view, and it's going to be an even 3-on-3 match between us, and we're going to whoop some ass," Roman says. And Bray just kind of looks at him and laughs as the segment ends, as they do the Wyatt family blackout to end the segment. This was basic, nothing too fancy here, but that's what I liked about it. Oh, and by the way, they tossed Miz out. As soon as Dean and Roman showed up, they tossed Miz out of the ring so they could just have a sort of a promo duel between the two sides. And I mean, this nothing groundbreaking, but I actually thought this was pretty good, and I thought Roman did pretty good on the microphone. I would have rather have Dean do more talking, because I think Dean's a better talker, but clearly they want Roman to be sort of the center of the feud. They want it to mostly be Bray versus Roman, with Dean and the Wyatt family members just kind of along for the ride. So I get that. I understand why they did that. But yeah, I thought Roman did pretty good on the mic, and I thought this was a decent segment. What do you think, Doc?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, good stuff. I think maybe we probably could have done maybe without the retort by Dean Ambrose and Roman. I know they want to push this match as it is, but we could have made it look like these guys were busy frantically trying to find a third partner. So they can't show up to Raw to cut this thing, because they're looking for a third partner without giving the Wyatt family an opportunity to attack that person, So they can't be there. They're too busy. So that gives the anticipation of, they're coming, then they're searching for the third partner. So you don't get to see them there. So you're waiting for them to show up at Night of the Champions, and you're waiting to find out who that third person is going to be. So you just build that hype. Just let the Wyatt family build it up with no retort, and then bam, let it explode. You get all that excitement.
Yeah, I would like that too. I mean, because they're clearly sort of building the draw of the match to be who is the mystery partner. Mm-hmm. That has definitely been the story they've been telling for the last 2 weeks at least. So yeah, that would have been a good way to do it too. And it would show that Dean and Roman are being smart by having their partner not be there to get his ass kicked,
or neither one of them, so that they could be separated and have their asses kicked.
Right, exactly. So yeah, that's going to be the match at the pay-per-view. I don't really know who the mystery partner is going to be. I haven't really read any rumors as to who it's going to be. But it
won't be Eric Rowan, because he's still injured. So count him out. It's not going. Right now, I'm hearing that it could be Chris Jericho, which would be really fucking lame, because and maybe Kane. And I'm on the fence there.
Yeah, I mean, Kane would be, I guess. Kane would work, but it would just feel like kind of out of left field. Mm-hmm. Because the last time we saw Kane, he was doing stuff that had nothing to do with the Wyatts or Roman and Dean. And it was like, if you're going to bring Kane back, you would think you would want to put him in there with something to do with the Authority, because that's where he left off. You know, it's like you bring Kane back and you just throw him into this mid-card feud that he has nothing to do with. That would feel kind of weird. But yeah, I think it'll probably be a decent match. I mean, we all remember 2 years ago when the Shield and the Wyatt family, the original version of the Wyatt family, had those 6-man tag matches. They had that one at the February pay-per-view that was just awesome. So, you know, hopefully they can recapture a little bit of that magic, you know. And I mean, the tag matches between Dean and Roman and Bray and Luke Harper haven't been terrible. They've been pretty good. So hopefully it'll be a good match at Night of Champions. Next is a match between, this was booked earlier in the show. They did a backstage segment with Seth Rollins and Triple H and Stephanie that announced this match. It's John Cena versus Sheamus, which is good because it's not Randy Orton versus Sheamus. And it's a decent match. It's a solid match. It's not remarkable. It's nothing that you're going to, you know, remember a couple days from now. Not like a match of the year candidate or anything, but it was a solid match. And Cena wins clean. He pins Sheamus with an attitude adjustment. So nothing really to complain about, but they keep pushing that Sheamus might cash in his Money in the Bank case. The announcers are basically saying, hey, Sheamus might cash in Money in the Bank on Sunday, like to try and add some interest to the show. And they have Sheamus lose clean to John Cena. So why should I be excited about Sheamus cashing in Money in the Bank? It's because he just lost to John Cena, so I might be thinking, if I'm a fan, okay, Sheamus will cash in and then he'll just lose. Or maybe I'm thinking, great, Sheamus will cash in and win the title, but he's a loser. He's lost on TV the last 3 weeks in a row, and now he's the champion. You know, maybe have Sheamus come out and beat somebody's ass on Raw, like fucking really look like a badass and hold up the case and be like, you know, I'm going to cash this thing in on Sunday. That would be cool. But he lost the match. So why do I care? Doctor,
yeah, for some reason, the WWE thinks that when you win the Money in the Bank briefcase, that they can just put you on the top of the shit list. You can constantly try to lose. For some reason, in their fucking weird ass mind, they think, oh, you have that briefcase, so at any moment we could put you right back on top and it would fit you, because for all of a sudden you're at the top. And that's how we work. But that's not how it works, people. That's not how the fucking game works, man. If you constantly lose, you constantly keep looking like shit, your fucking title win is going to look like shit. You need to make yourself look like a really top notch. There's a reason why you won that fucking briefcase. And it's not because you're about ready to go on a fucking losing streak, which has been common time and fucking time again with that Money in the Bank briefcase. I would just eliminate that in the Elimination Chamber real quick.
Yeah, it wouldn't break my heart. Well, yeah, I have never understood the mentality of booking guys to lose right before you are trying to push them as something, or you're trying to use them as a draw, because they're trying to use Sheamus and the Money in the Bank cash-in possibility. They're teasing that, and they're trying to use that as a draw to get people to watch Night of Champions. But if you want it to be a draw, why the fuck is Sheamus losing on TV? Losing does not get people over. Losing does not get people over. Losing does not do anything for anybody. All right? I mean, Doc, you mentioned earlier when we were talking about the most overrated wrestler, and you talked about, you know, you, in your opinion, it was Goldberg. Goldberg was not a good worker at all, but Goldberg got over because he never fucking lost. And that's really the only thing that got Goldberg over. I mean, he had a good look, and he had a good sort of, you know, intense personality about him, but he wasn't a great wrestler. He wasn't even a good wrestler most of the time. But what got him over was that he went out and he won. He kicked ass and he won, and that got Goldberg over as a main eventer. Same thing with Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar did not come back after UFC and become the beast because he lost every fucking match. He hasn't, I mean, he did. In fact, I thought he lost too often when they first brought him in, because he lost to Cena, and then like, you know, less than a year later, he lost to Triple H. I thought, what the fuck are you doing with Brock? But ever since then, he's been a beast. He's been a machine. He hasn't lost a fucking match. And
lost to Guerrero, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, right. Back in the first time through, yeah. But you know, if you want guys to get over and you want us to care about, if you want us to see Sheamus as a threat, then he needs to be a badass. He needs to beat people. He needs to not be losing on TV. Booking guys to lose does nothing except make me not care about them, no matter how talented they are.
If I was a Celtic Warrior, I'd pick me up a little ass kicker and I'd go after the championships.
That would be cool.
Mm-hmm.
That would be cool.
The power couple, they sit at the top.
That would be awesome because, I mean, Becky is great, and I'm a little bit afraid that maybe she might end up getting lost in the shuffle because Charlotte is obviously the one that you would want to push as like a big baby face or even a big heel. I would rather see Charlotte as a heel, honestly. But, you know, and Sasha is so over and fucking great. So obviously Sasha should be a star. But Becky's fucking awesome too. And I would hate to see her get lost in the shuffle. You know, maybe a heel turn and aligning her with a big male heel like Sheamus. They're both Irish. That would make sense. And have Sheamus go after the world title and have Becky go after the Divas title. Like that would be cool. You know, and it would remind us that these titles are like that. These titles should be close to the same level. You know, if you're the Divas champion, then you're the world champion of the Divas. That's the number one belt that you can win. So that should be a major title. It shouldn't just be, you know, something that you have to remember that you have so you can book a match for it in 5 minutes before the show starts. You know. Speaking of mid-card belts, let's talk about the next segment. It was a promo with first Ryback comes out, and Ryback, of course, is the Intercontinental Champion. And he talks some trash about Kevin Owens. And he says that he has requested a match with Kevin Owens to defend his Intercontinental title at Night of Champions. Because, of course, Night of Champions, the gimmick is that all the titles have to be defended. So Ryback is like, okay, I'm going to defend the Intercontinental title, and I'm going to defend it against Kevin Owens. And then Kevin Owens comes out with The Secret. And he makes fun of Ryback for reading the book The Secret and for liking the book The Secret. And if you remember, you know, way back, I think like last year when Ryback came back from being injured for a while, he cut this promo where he said that part of what enabled him to come back and what keeps him motivated is he read the book The Secret and he believes in the law of attraction. Which I think is horseshit, but I remember that promo and I thought that was a really good promo from Ryback, even though I completely dismissed The Secret. The Kevin Owens comes out and brings that back up and makes fun of Ryback for being like a secret guy and says this is just a crutch for weak people. And your problem, Ryback, is that you're weak and you've always been weak. And Ryback kind of comes back and he says, yeah, I read The Secret. I thought it was great. So fuck you. And, you know, he says he's going to kick Kevin Owens' ass at the pay-per-view. And he says he's going to show everybody that he's not just some big guy. He is the big guy. So there you go. Kevin Owens versus Ryback. Seems kind of last minute because I guess they suddenly realized that neither guy had anything to do on the show and they needed to have an Intercontinental title match to keep the gimmick for the show. So they said, fuck it, Owens versus Ryback.
Because Barrett had nothing to do.
Yeah, really.
I guess it's okay. Kevin came out there. I think there was some kind of flub there with that book because it looked like it's some kind of improvising or some shit. Like,
yeah,
I don't know what happened. And but yeah, it's just it's the match out of nowhere. It's a match out of nowhere.
Yeah.
But it should be good. Ryback's done well, and he did a little singing, which wasn't, completely top notch, but fans still seem to like him. But they like Kevin just as well. I'm tired of this whole backing off. It's a whole fight Kevin, fight Owens fight thing, gimmick of his. Then why the fuck you keep backing off from a fight? I mean, it's your gimmick, dude. You fight. You keep on fighting. You bring that fight, man. Samoa Joe, I guess because it's your heel. I guess if Samoa Joe was a heel, he'd probably back off of a fight too. I'm sure I've seen him do it many times, and I'm just not thinking about it right now. But it's just, good God, man. Get up in that goddamn person's face. How dare the big man get up in your face, man? You're Kevin fucking Owens. You're there to fight for your kids, your family.
Yeah.
And you're going to let this big guy get up. This big guy, the big guy, get up in your face and tell you what is what. I mean, come on, you took John Cena to fucking school. Don't worry about this one.
Yeah, yeah. I figure. I mean, I kind of like when he backs off because he's a heel, and you know he does. Sometimes he'll do the thing where he'll back off, and then the babyface will think he's leaving and will turn his back to him, and then he'll fucking jump him and kick the shit out of him. I love when he does that. You did mention, yeah, Ryback did do like an Elvis impression in his promo. They need to watch that. I would hate for them to turn Ryback into another goofy big guy. I mean, I like that he smiles. I like that he plays with the fans. I think that's great. It makes him feel natural, like it has personality. But don't let him become the goofy guy. I hate that. He still needs to be like the tough, badass guy. Like they tried that with the Big Show like 10 or 15 years ago, where they suddenly decided, hey, he's going to be funny. It was fucking terrible because I don't want to see the Big Show being funny. Big Show is 7 feet tall. I want to see Big Show squashing people. Ryback is like a fucking mountain of muscle. I want him to fucking kill people. That's what I want him to see. That's what I want to see him do. I don't want to see him come out and make jokes and sing songs and do Elvis impersonations. That's not going to help him at all. But yeah, but other than that, it'll probably be a good match. You know, it's sad that 2 or 3 months ago, Kevin Owens was wrestling John Cena and he was like the hottest thing on the show. And now he's, wrestling for the Intercontinental title in a match that they didn't even announce until a week before the pay-per-view. But
there would have been a parade down fucking Hartford, Connecticut for Kevin Owens. If the day that he beat fucking John Cena. I mean, there was literally a parade went down Hartford, Connecticut, or Stamford, Connecticut. I'm sorry. I got my Fords messed up. I should have said Harrison Ford, Connecticut, Right. But yeah, nobody seems to give a shit. He's, it was that big splash, and then, it's like the original cannonball, and then the lifeguard blows the whistle like, Boo! You can only dive from now on. No more cannonballs.
Yeah. And then it's everybody out of the pool.
Yeah.
Next, it's the big Divas title match. Can Charlotte defeat Nikki Bella and keep her from becoming the longest reigning Divas champion ever?
In a world where someone does not deserve a title because their ex-championship boyfriend is politicking backstage to keep the belt on her, so they can erase a former Divas championship title reign that they no longer care about, just to piss off a former WWE champion that they no longer care about. Watch Brie Bella take on Ric Flair's daughter, Charlotte, in this championship match. Next on Wrestling with Wrestling.
Very nice. Very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the answer is no. She can't. Nikki keeps the title with a kind of a gimmicky finish. They do the twin magic thing where the referee's back is turned and Nikki is down. Charlotte hits her with the spear and is about ready to finish her off. And the referee gets distracted. And then Brie runs in and pulls Nikki out of the ring and takes her place. And Charlotte pins Brie and thinks that she has won the title. And Ric Flair comes down to celebrate, which I guess Rick wasn't watching the match. And he didn't know that she had pinned Brie instead of Nikki. So everybody's in the ring. So the other girls from PCB are in the ring celebrating, and Charlotte's holding up the belt. And then Stephanie comes out and says, yeah, you didn't pin Nikki, though. You pinned Brie, so you can't have the title. And it'll be a DQ because Brie interfered in the match. So Nikki keeps the belt. It's officially a disqualification victory for Charlotte. But Steph says, we'll have a rematch at Night of Champions for the Divas title, Nikki versus Charlotte. And this time, the special stipulation is that the title can change hands on disqualification or a countout. So if Nikki tries to get herself disqualified to keep the title, it's not going to work. Because if she loses the match by DQ, she loses the title. So I guess that's all right. I just said, the only thing I said after that in my notes is, again, this all feels very rushed. Very last minute. I mean, this is 6 days from the pay-per-view, and they have the match, and then they book the rematch, and they do the no DQ or the title changes hands on DQ stipulation. I think that would have been much nicer if it would have been spaced out over a couple of weeks, and they would have had a chance to kind of build it up and promote it a little bit. And And man, Charlotte needs to win this fucking title and just move on, do something else, beat Nikki, and then move in a new direction, because the Divas Revolution can't be, you know, all the exciting, hot, young talent from NXT coming up and then just losing to the Bellas, you know?
Yeah, I completely agree. Okay, you give her credit because, you know, she's held on to that championship because there's no one else around that could hold that championship, apparently. So she's held on to it, and you finally are at midnight, you know, defeated AJ Lee's title reign. So good for you. You got your record. Your record's going to stand. Now it's time to move on and give this Divas Revolution that you keep fucking hashtagging me about, you know, a chance. So let's move on, and let's see it works. Viva la revolution, you bitches. No, I don't mean you, not you women. No, I just in general.
Just in general.
Yeah, bitches.
I mean, they've had the Divas Revolution thing since July, and it's been the same storyline the whole time, and pretty much nothing has happened. So it's time for Charlotte to win the title, and it's time for Charlotte to feud with somebody else for that title, and give the Bellas something else to do. Put the Bellas back in a regular tag team and have them feud with, you know, put Paige and Becky together as a tag team and have them feud for a month, and then have Paige turn on Becky to turn heel. You know, there you go. There's your story. And leave the Bellas as a team and heels, but out of the title picture for a while. Let Charlotte just fucking go barnstorm and kick ass and build the title back up. But yeah, needs to go somewhere, needs to do something, needs to change direction. Next, a match between Cesaro and Rusev, which ends with a roll-up after a distraction from Dolph Ziggler, because that's the only finish that anybody can come up with, I guess. In WWE, they have a creative team with I don't even know how many people. They have road agents backstage that are some of the most incredibly talented wrestlers who have ever stepped in a ring. And the finish for this match is that Dolph Ziggler comes out and distracts Rusev by giving Summer Rae a present, and Cesaro rolls Rusev up from behind and pins him. I guess that's the best they can do. But of course, this isn't really about Cesaro. The fans try to get behind Cesaro a little bit. They chant for Cesaro at a few points in this match, which is a really short match. They chant for Cesaro, but it's really not about Cesaro. Cesaro's only out there to push ahead this Ziggler versus Rusev feud. And the new development in the feud this week is that Dolph gives Summer Rae that gift, which she eventually accepts, and she kind of hides it behind her back when she's checking on Rusev, because Dolph super kicks him after the match. And then backstage, she opens the gift, and it's jewelry. Dolph has given her some jewelry, and Rusev gets mad. Oh, he's mad. So there you go. That's what they've got Cesaro doing. He's just in there to move along the Ziggler versus Rusev feud, which is fucking terrible.
Yeah, this Capri Sun that I just drank was much better than that feud. Yeah, Cesaro, who is top-notch fucking wrestler, just seems to be out there to advance a fucking storyline. I mean, I don't get that. The guy deserves more than just to be a story advancer wrestler. I don't know what the term for that will be in the future, but I'm sure there will be one where, you know, you're top shit, but for some reason you just can't get to that brass ring. Rusev, the whole fucking love story with Lana, you know, obviously Lana's in, so they're going to actually amp up the whole love story of him trying to steal Summer, I think, because Lana has, you know, she's out with the surgery, but she won't be out for long. Yeah. So it's going to get somewhere. I mean, yeah, I guess it's just going to have to play out, but hopefully it plays out really soon, because, you know, it's getting pretty stale. I do not like feuds anymore that involve that. And don't get me wrong, but the whole storyline between two guys fighting are because it's being dictated by the two women fighting.
Right. Yeah. Two women who are wrestlers.
I mean, I'll step up for you, hon, but if you don't keep your mouth shut the next time, you're on your own. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get to our predictions for the Night of Champions show in a minute, but I mean, I'll just go ahead and say I don't know what is actually going to happen between these two at the show, but I would like to see it. Dolph Ziggler super kicks him and pins him, and then we never hear anything about this ever again. Because both Ziggler and Rusev are better than this ridiculous feud that has gone on. I mean, Ziggler only came back from injury before SummerSlam, but it feels like this has been going on for like a year because it just has gotten so dumb and so boring and soap opera. It's just like, God, just fucking end this. Just end this. Have the babyface kick his head off and pin him, and let's just move both guys on to other shit, you know? Next is, well, what was advertised as the main event. It turns out to not be the main event, but the advertised main event, Sting versus The Big Show. Sting in his first official Raw match, facing the guy who was named the Giant back in WCW, which the announcers actually put over. They mentioned the fact that when WCW was still around, that there was a time where the Giant and Sting were both top stars in WCW. Which makes them, which is cool, but it also reminds us how fucking old they are. Like, remember back in 1996 when these guys were top stars in WCW? But the match doesn't last very long. It only goes about a minute and a half. Sting really gets in Big Show's face. He doesn't back down. He keeps throwing punches and gets him into the corner and, you know, does well for himself, doesn't get beat down, but then Seth Rollins runs in after about a minute and a half and draws the DQ. So Sting wins the match by disqualification. And then John Cena runs out to make the save so that Big Show and Seth can't double team Sting. And Triple H and Stephanie are out there to watch the match. So Triple H grabs a microphone and says, okay, if you guys want to do it this way, then let's just make it a tag team match. He pulls a Teddy Long and says, playa, we gonna have us a tag team match. And that's exactly what the fuck happens. He doesn't do the Teddy Long impression, but everything else I said was true.
He did that at the beginning of the night.
Yes, he did. Yeah, he did. He did the New Day dance, exactly. So white people appropriating black people's shit. It's what we do. So it becomes a tag team match. John Cena and Sting versus Seth Rollins and The Big Show, and it turns into a pretty decent little match. Cena does almost all the work, wrestles the match up until the finish when he tags in Sting. Sting comes in, hits Rollins with the inverted DDT, the Scorpion Death Drop, and then he locks in the Scorpion Death Lock for the submission. So he gets Seth Rollins to tap out to his finish. So Sting wins that match too. So now officially, Sting has a winning record in the WWE because he beat Big Show by DQ and his team won the tag team match. So now officially Sting is 2-1 in his WWE career. So at least he's going to go into the title match this Sunday with a winning record. I don't know. I thought it was a decent match. It was a nice way to end the show because it makes Sting look strong going into the title match. Imagine that. The guy challenging for the title won and looked strong going into the challenge. That's good. And it sent the fans home happy because people like to see Cena and Sting win the match. So I thought it was an okay way to finish the show. What do you think, Doc?
Absolutely. Although Sting had to share that freaking win with none other than John Cena. I'm loving those memes these days.
Me too.
Better than the RKO, the Randy Ortons. I gotta tell you, I love the Randy Ortons, but now they're on John Cena. Fucking brilliant. Yeah. But yeah, John Cena did most of the work in this match. Not only did he take most of the heat, he told all the other wrestlers what the hell to do. And I'm wondering if he did that with Sting. He could be heard loud and clear. Go to the other corner. Go to the other corner. Make the tag. Be confused. I could hear him so freaking clearly. And, you know, this whole shit, you know, because the camera's got you like right here, right? So you're like, you can see your mouth moving, dude. I'm like, come on. It is horrible. When you complain about it, everybody complains about it. You talk too much. And you're fucking supposed to be a true professional. I mean, a true professional, but you seem to just not care about kayfabe at all.
Yeah.
And that's what I don't like about you, John Cena. Sorry. You suck.
That is true. I mean, we complain about that all the time, but I mean, he knows that no matter where he is in that ring, there is a high def camera and a microphone like within a few inches of him. And he calls spots, not even whispering. I mean, he's talking at a normal tone of voice. Sometimes he's even yelling. And it's like, Jesus, man, you don't, if you can't call spots quietly in the ring so we can't hear you, then fucking go over some shit backstage so everybody knows where they're going and you don't have to be calling every fucking spot. I don't know.
Next time, and if anybody stumbles on this video, the next time John Cena's song kicks in, I want to hear you. I want to hear the "You don't kayfabe, you don't kayfabe." You know,
yes.
Put that out there, Addy. See how he likes that shit.
You know what you should say to piss him off?
You talk too much.
You know, you should say, you know, John, I don't hear Nikki calling spots like that. See what that says. See what that does.
Pretty tight, man. You're right.
And he would say, yeah, because the ref calls all her spots. Oh, shit. I'm sorry.
And she only gets 75% of the money that I do on salary.
Right. She doesn't have to call spots. She gets paid 3/4 what I do. She's not calling spots for that kind of money. So that was Raw. I actually thought this week's Raw was better than it's been for the last couple weeks. It didn't blow anything out of the water. It wasn't great, but it wasn't terrible either, which was good because I thought the last couple of shows before this one had been just especially boring and especially bad. So this was a pretty good show. It was good to see Sting get in there, even though he didn't do a whole lot. It was good to see Sting get in there and look good and look strong going into the match on Sunday. So that's Raw. Doc, let's talk about some predictions for the big show on Sunday.
Okay, Big Show's going to lose, but who else?
Yes. Yeah, so everybody else too. Well, first they have announced a pre-show match. The pre-show match is a 6-man. It's the team of Neville and the Lucha Dragons versus Stardust and the Ascension, who are calling themselves the Cosmic Wasteland. That's a cool name. I mean, again, as with so many of their undercard matches, I think the real answer is it doesn't matter who wins because I don't think the people writing the show give a shit. But I basically flipped a coin for this one in my head, and I said Stardust and the Ascension are going to win. So
I'm going with the Lucha Dragons and Neville. Neville's hot. I think he's the key winner in this one.
Yeah, that'd be cool. It'd be nice if they did something else with Neville too. I'm just saying. Okay, so now let's get into the show proper. I'm not sure what the match order will be, of course, but let's just start with the Divas title match, the rematch from Raw. Nikki Bella, now officially the longest reigning Divas champion, defending the title against Charlotte, with the stipulation being that the title can change hands on a disqualification, which would seem to favor Charlotte winning. So I picked Charlotte to win. About half of that is wishful thinking, but also I think that would be a good way to go. So, Doc, what do you think?
I agree with you. I think Charlotte is time to move on. We need to move on. This is the way I would like to see it go. Same with you. So I'm going that way in my predictions. Charlotte's going to win.
Yeah. Next, let's talk about the Intercontinental title match. Ryback, the champion, defending against Kevin Owens, the challenger. Even though I love Kevin Owens and I would love to see him be a huge main event star right now, I think this one's going to Ryback. What do you think, Doc?
I think Kevin Owens is going to sneak one out here and take the championship from him. I think that it's a way of getting him over, but you know, we need to put a championship on you before you cool off too fast. We need to do that. Ryback will be fine, but you're cooling off and you're cooling off fast. We need to put some heat back on you.
Or maybe they'll do the same thing to Owens that they've been doing to Wade Barrett. They'll put the title on him, and then he won't win a match for the next year.
He'll constantly not defend it.
Yeah, that's because that's what happens when you win an interview. I bet Owens is probably backstage right now going, "Don't put that title on me. Do not put that Intercontinental title on me. I saw what happened to Wade Barrett. I don't want that to happen to me." But yeah, okay. Next, Dolph Ziggler versus Rusev. I'm calling this one for Ziggler, and I hope that this is it. I feel like they still are probably, when Lana gets back, I feel like they're going to try to drag this out so they can do a mixed tag between these two, but I really think they should just kill it right now. Kill it now. Have Dolph win and get over and move on. But what do you think, Doc?
Well, this is a tough one because it can go either way. Will Lana be back? Will she make an appearance? This could be the deciding factor. If not, Summer could always kind of sway Dolph Ziggler a little bit and letting her know that she's interested, maybe. Giving Rusev that moment to strike and screw over Dolph Ziggler. So, I mean, this is something that can happen. The possibility is there for that to happen, but it does depend on that Lana, whether or not Lana will be there. But I don't think she will be. May or may. I'm just saying she probably won't be. Rusev picks up the win by distraction from Summer.
Cool. All right, Rusev. Poor Doc.
Mm-hmm.
Next, the tag team titles match. The New Day defending those titles against the challengers, the Dudley Boys. I have a bad feeling that they might get a wild hair up their ass and put the Dudleys over, but I'm going to pick the New Day. I think the New Day is going to win, and I really hope that the New Day wins because they just won the titles back, and it would be crazy if they lost them right away, especially to the Dudley Boys. But we'll see what happens. What do you think, Doc?
I'm absolutely behind the New Day. New Day rocks.
Yes. I think they're probably the most over guys on the show right now.
It's a team. It's a team you got on the roster that unlike any of the other teams, are getting over his heels. So they got something special.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Next, the 6-man tag: Dean Ambrose, Roman Reigns, and their mystery partner, whoever that is, versus all 3 members of the newly reconstituted Wyatt family. This is another one that I feel like they could go either way, depending on what they plan after this, or if they even have anything planned after this for these guys. But I'm picking the baby faces. I'm picking Ambrose and Reigns and their mystery partner. What do you think?
Yeah, that's a tough one because you do have the brand new Braun Strowman.
Yeah.
You don't want to make him, although I'm not so sold on his finisher. It's a little sloppy to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I'm going to go with Dean Ambrose, that happy-go-lucky feeling. You need to give it to them. Although I probably wouldn't. I think that you're building up new members of this faction of the Wyatt family should really make them look strong and intact and like a brotherhood. Doesn't matter who the hell you bring in on that third member because we're family. We all think alike. We're one cohesive unit.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it wouldn't hurt to have Braun look super strong and give them the win. It depends a lot on who the mystery partner is too. Like if the mystery partner is like some big time feel good baby face, they might want to put the new guy, the good guys over just to make people happy. Although if it is, if the mystery partner is someone like that, having Braun Strowman kill that guy would be pretty cool too.
Oh no! It's a swerve. They found a third member, but he's in cahoots with the Wyatt because Bray got a hold of him already. So he's going to screw them both over, and they're still going to get their asses kicked. I'm going with the Wyatt family.
Cool. Okay. Wow. He's changing his vote.
Yeah, it just came to me. I'm like, I see a possibility. I'll go with that because I like that.
Okay. I mean, that would be cool too.
Oh, I'm always looking for the way to fuck people over. So those storylines seem very intriguing to me.
Okay, and next, Seth Rollins, of course, is working twice on this show because he's defending both of his titles. So first, let's talk about his U.S. title match. Seth Rollins defending the U.S. title against John Cena. I am picking John Cena for this match. I am picking John Cena for this match because I think it makes sense to take the U.S. title off of Seth Rollins because I don't think he's going to carry that long term. I think what Cena was doing before with the U.S. title was working, and I wouldn't mind seeing that continue for a little while. And I just don't see Rollins winning both matches on the show. It wouldn't break my heart, to be honest, because I like Rollins. But the other thing is, it's John Cena, and John Cena doesn't lose very often. So I'm picking John Cena.
Yeah, I think John Cena's going to win. I think it's going to be altogether, I think it's going to be a really bad night for Seth Rollins.
Well, let's see. Let's talk about the main event. Seth Rollins once again defending his WWE Championship, this time against Sting, who just tapped him out on Raw. I'm picking Rollins for this. I think the deal is he'll lose the U.S. title, but he'll keep the WWE title, maybe through some nefarious means. He'll cheat or there'll be a run-in or something. But I think Rollins gets out with the title. I have no idea what they're going to do with Sheamus. I am not making any prediction about Sheamus. If I were going to make a prediction about what Sheamus is going to do with the Money in the Bank, I would predict that he's not going to do anything, that nothing is going to happen. He's not going to come out. He's not going to try to cash it in or anything. That would be my prediction, that they're just going to not do anything with it, because I don't think they know what they're going to do with Sheamus right now anyway. So I'm picking Rollins. I'm saying Rollins is going to win. What do you think, Doc?
I'm going to take a shot in the dark for this one, I'm sure.
If you hit it, you'll look like a genius.
I know, but I'm going to have to go with the franchise, man, the original franchise. It's a moment to shine. I know maybe it doesn't. And if he's going to wear it, it's not a high caliber match. He's beating Seth Rollins. I don't want to diminish what Seth Rollins can do and what he is. But when it comes to name recognition, it's not fucking Sting. So at least taking the belt off of Seth Rollins to put on Sting doesn't seem like a high-profile match. But to get Sting to wrestle, say, John Cena or someone somewhere down the line, that's a bigger match. But you give Sting his little moment in the sunlight for now, so that you can get him into the Hall of Fame next year.
I can buy that. I mean, like we said last week when we were talking about this, even though I don't like the way they've handled Sting. If Sting won the WWE title, that would be a great feel-good moment for me, because I mean, I've been a Sting fan since I was 9 years old. So Sting winning the WWE title at this point in his career, when he's almost done, it would be great. It would be a great visual to see him win the match and hold up that belt, you know. But if I were booking the show and I were ruthless and I was trying to make the best show I could, I would put Seth Rollins over on this. Of course, I wouldn't even have Sting in the match. but if I got hired by WWE today and they said, okay, book Night of Champions, I would have Seth Rollins go over. But that's just me, and that's just what I think will happen. We'll be talking about this, of course, next week after the show, and see who got which one's right and which one's wrong. If you recall, last month I scraped by and just barely edged out a victory on Doc by getting one more right than he did. So we'll see what happens this time. Now, before we take our leave for another week, we have a legend of the week to talk about.
We do.
The legend this week is really one of the all-time greats. Tell us about him, Doc.
Well, he paid me off to do this. I just wanted to let you know. Before I move on, I got a brief message in my ear to say that I should mention that it was awesome that JBL brought up the Blade Runners during commentary. So thank you, JBL. Thanks for once again living up to, you know, keeping wrestling history alive. Thank you.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And let's talk about wrestling history. None other than Mr. Ted DiBiase. Ted DiBiase was trained by Dory Funk Jr. and Terry Funk. He made his professional wrestling debut as a referee on June of 1974 in Amarillo territory owned by the Funks. He then went to the Mid-South territory of Bill Watts in 1975, where he wrestled for 4 years. His first match was a loss against Danny Hodge. By February of 1978, DiBiase would unseat Dick Slater to become Missouri State Champion, only to lose to Dick Murdoch after a few weeks on television. In 1979, DiBiase had a short stint with Vince McMahon Sr.'s World Wrestling Federation, and he was awarded the short-lived North American Championship, becoming the title's first champion. On June 19th, 1979, he lost the North American Championship to Pat Patterson, who unified the title with the fictional South American Championship to become the very first Intercontinental Champion. He was Hulk Hogan's first opponent in Hogan's first Madison Square Garden match. DiBiase also spent time in Georgia, in the Georgia area, where he had an early face run, frequently tagging with Tommy Wildfire Rich. The two then feuded, leading to a loser leaves town match, which DiBiase won. But instead of Rich leaving the area, he donned a mask, calling himself Mr. R. The feud culminated in a match between Mr. R and DiBiase. Tommy Rich appeared from backstage and distracted DiBiase. Mr. R then rolled up DiBiase to get the win and unmasked as Brad Armstrong. Both DiBiase and Rich left the territory shortly thereafter. In the early to mid 1980s, DiBiase participated in angles in various territories with the likes of Bob Roop, Paul Orndorff, Dick Murdoch, Ric Flair, the Fabulous Freebirds, and One Man Gang. DiBiase broke the hearts of fans when he turned heel against the Junkyard Dog, forming a group called the Rat Pack with Jim Duggan and Matt Bourne. They ran Mid-South for months, aligning with Skandar Akbar. DiBiase called a riff with the group, namely Duggan. The two would feud until DiBiase lost a loser leave town match. He also held various championships and made frequent trips to All Japan Pro Wrestling until his eventual departure from Mid-South Wrestling. Typically, his matches ended with the use of a loaded black glove, and I remember he used to wear that black glove a lot, which he pulled from his tights to knock out his opponent when the referee was not looking. While locked in talks with the National Wrestling Alliance in 1987, after the UWF was acquired by Jim Crockett, DiBiase received an offer from the WWF. DiBiase was eventually convinced by the WWF to sign up despite the fact that he would not be told his gimmick until after he agreed, under the promise that it was something that would receive a serious push. WWF official Pat Patterson informed DiBiase that if owner Vince McMahon were to go out to wrestle, it would be the gimmick that he would give himself. DiBiase entered All Japan Pro Wrestling in 1993. He won the NWA United National Championship on October 14, 1983, in a tournament defeating Jerry Lawler by forfeit. 2 months later, on January 28, 1984, DiBiase lost the title to Michael Hayes. In August of 1985, DiBiase formed a tag team with fellow wrestler Stan Hansen, and the two became the PWF tag team champions, where Hansen chose DiBiase to replace Bruiser Brody, who left for New Japan Pro Wrestling. Later that year, DiBiase and Hansen entered the 1985 World's Strongest Tag Determination League and would emerge victorious, finishing in first place with 7 points. And I have no clue what the fuck that is, but I should check that out sometime. On July 3rd, 1987, DiBiase and Hansen would lose the PWF Tag Team Championship to Jumbo Tsuruta and Tiger Mask, ending their 2-year reign as champions. 8 days later, on July 11th, DiBiase and Hansen regained the titles for a second time, but would be stripped of the title shortly after due to DiBiase leaving for the WWF. Let's go ahead and skip over to that. In the WWF, DiBiase was known as the $1 Million Man, a millionaire who wore a gold-studded, dollar-sign-covered suit and, in time, a custom-made, diamond-encrusted, and self-awarded $1 Million Championship belt. The $1 Million Man character was based on the type of wrestler that Vince McMahon would want to be. DiBiase had a bodyguard by the name of Virgil, who was also by his side during his matches and vignettes. The idea for the name Virgil was based on then NWA booker Dusty Rhodes, whose real name is Virgil Reynolds. The name of DiBiase's finishing move, the $1 Million Dream, in which someone is put to sleep, was also meant to be an insult to Dusty Rhodes, who was named the American Dream. Virgil was often seen performing humiliating tasks such as rubbing DiBiase's feet. DiBiase claimed everybody had a price, demonstrating his power through a series of vignettes in which he did things such as bribe a manager of a local swimming pool to close for a day so he could have the pool to himself, or when the honeymoon suite in a hotel was already booked, he bribed the desk clerk to have the couple already in there thrown out. Other skits featured DiBiase traveling in limousines, giving $100 tips to waiters, and using $100 bills in convenience stores for small purchases like chewing gum. In reality, DiBiase's word travel was deliberately booked for first-class airplane flights and 5-star hotel accommodations, and he was given a lot of petty cash from the WWF offices. Gave petty cash from the WWF offices so that he could throw money around in public, like bars and everything like that, in order to make the character seem more real, because they believed in kayfabe back then still. Other times, DiBiase invited fans to perform humiliating acts for money. During one skit, he invited the young boy onto stage and told him if he bounced the ball 15 times in succession, DiBiase would pay him $500. After the 14th bounce, DiBiase kicked the ball away, sending the boy home without pay. However, according to his autobiography, everybody who wasn't paid on camera was paid off camera. He frequently stuffed a $100 bill into the mouth of a wrestler on which he had used the $1 Million Dream move on. Virgil, however, would more often than not retrieve the discarded bill from the wrestler's mouth. His first big in-ring angles came in late 1987 on an angle of Superstars of Wrestling, where he announced his plan to buy the WWF Championship from Hulk Hogan. Hogan refused and said that DiBiase would have to defeat him in the ring for the belt. Hogan got the upper hand in a series of matches, and a frustrated DiBiase approached Andre the Giant to win the belt for him. On the February 5th, 1988 edition of The Main Event, which aired live on NBC, Andre defeated Hogan under questionable circumstances for the WWF Championship. Referee Dave Hebner was detained backstage and replaced with a referee DiBiase paid to have plastic surgery, who was actually his twin brother, as we know by now, Earl. He counted the pin for Andre despite the fact that Hogan's shoulder was up at the count of 1. Andre then announced he was surrendering the belt and handed it over to DiBiase. In the following days, DiBiase was in fact billed as the WWF champion in 3 house shows, actually, defending the title 1 time against Bam Bam Bigelow. However, WWF later refused to acknowledge his championship reign and declared the title vacant. Skip down here. Andre's world title win was always recognized, though, over Hogan, and is still considered the shortest world title reign in WWF history. This angle was an amplification of an angle in the old Georgia Championship Wrestling zone when Larry Zbyszko paid Killer Tim Brooks $25,000 for his NWA National Heavyweight Championship in 1983. So, of course, as we know, that brought forth WrestleMania's tournament, and we know how that all ended up. You know, Macho Man finally faced off against $1 Million Man in the Heavyweight Championship. Hogan stuck his nose in his business and screwed him over. And, of course, DiBiase fell and he became the champion. DiBiase, of course, went on to other feuds with the $1 Million Man or with Dusty Rhodes and Sweet Sapphire, which was really good, a really good feud back in those days. Also, Virgil turning against him. I'm trying to move on here and make this quick. Because Ted DiBiase has a huge storyline.
Yeah.
His tag team with Erwin R. Shyster. I want to go into Money Inc. Former tag team champions on multiple occasions. Got to go up against some of those great tag teams like the Bushwhackers and the Natural Disasters and the Nasty Boys. I mean, that was top-notch stuff back in the day. And of course, he went to after he left WWE, he showed up in WCW during the NWO days as the benefactor of the NWO. Was there for a while. He did retire from the ring, but does make occasional appearances from time to time. As we know, DiBiase has moved on in his private life. Let me get down to here so I can get it all correct. I don't want to be ignorant to what he does. But he has retired. Let me get to his DiBiase inducted his former manager, Sensational Sherry, into the WWE Hall of Fame on April 1st, 2006, and made an appearance at WrestleMania 22, offering Eugene $1,000 to dribble basketball 100 times backstage and kicked the ball away at the last second. DiBiase also appeared on Raw on April 17th behind the newspaper doing his famous evil laugh, which is the best laugh ever in the wrestling business. Got to give it up to Ted DiBiase for that.
Absolutely.
DiBiase also appeared on that episode. DiBiase made an appearance at an IPW show in Newton, Ohio. Of course, his son did enter, but didn't last in the business very long. He's doing his own thing. DiBiase is actually now a Christian minister. In 1999, he founded Heart of David Ministry and travels the world ministering to churches, camps, and conferences, including Promise Keepers and Youth of the Nation. Ted is also the author of Every Man Has His Price, a part autobiography and part Christian testimony. So, yeah, he still makes his appearances from time to time. Check out his books. Yeah, Every Man Has His Price. I do have a couple of his books over there. I do have Every Man Has His Price. I've never read it. Wasn't really kind of my cup of tea. I know everything I really need to know about Ted DiBiase and his father and where he came from, his adopted parents. And I didn't get into all that. But if you're interested in it, do the research yourself. It's right there on Wikipedia. Learn more about that this guy. He has been an excellent wrestler. That fucking fist drop that John Cena does, that's straight up fucking Ted DiBiase and brilliant. That's my legend of the week. My 2 takes. I love you, $1 Million Man. I wish I could do that laugh, brother, but you were awesome, man. Back in the day, I love you. You deserve to be a legend of mine.
He is one of the all-time greats. I remember, of course, I didn't see any of his earlier stuff until I had already known him as the $1 Million Man, and it's so weird to watch. Ted DiBiase circa 1979 when he was a babyface, wrestling like babyface style, like jumping around, fucking throwing punches, making comebacks. It's so weird to see him wrestle like that because he's most well known as a heel and he was completely a different style. I mean, when you look, just judge him just based on that. Look at how radically he changed, not just his personality and his gimmick when he turned heel, but his wrestling style changed completely. He totally reinvented himself. And yeah, I mean, the $1 Million Man, one of the great gimmicks ever, one of the greatest heels ever. Ted DiBiase is the $1 Million Man. That laugh was awesome. The gimmicks with, when he kicked that basketball away from that kid, that is one of the great fucking heel angles I have ever seen. I mean, what a dick. Whoever came up with that is a genius. That's how you get a guy over as a heel, to avoid giving a little boy. It was, what was it, like $10 or something? Like he was going to give him some small amount of money for dribbling a basketball 10 times in a row or whatever.
And he actually made that end on it, because I can see by what you're wearing, you could use a whole lot more than that.
Oh yeah,
I remember that shit. He would just dig in. He was brilliant.
He healed on the kid, and then he cheated to avoid giving him the money. I mean, that is a fucking heel. That is just a classic heel. And yeah, I mean, he had great matches with Savage, with Jake the Snake, with Dusty. He had probably one of the best matches and one of the best feuds, even though it didn't lead to a pay-per-view match, with the Ultimate Warrior. He got good stuff out of the Warrior in the ring and on the microphone, because Warrior's promos when he was working against DiBiase were probably the best promos he ever cut. And that was right after he won the title from Hogan, when Warrior was working with DiBiase. And he won the title from Hogan, and then he was kind of doing stuff with DiBiase and with Rick Rude that year. But yeah, DiBiase was amazing. Just one of the all-time greats. Great talker, great worker, great gimmick. When Virgil turned on him, it was amazing. I mean, Virgil didn't wind up doing anything much after that, but that angle when Virgil finally turns on the $1 Million Man after taking his shit for like 3 years was just amazing. So yeah,
Jake Roberts took the belt and put it in Damien's bag.
Yes, he stole the $1 Million belt. Yeah, DiBiase's great legend. What's your network pick this week?
I'm gonna have to go with on the network. It's called Saturday Night Night's Main Event. It's February of 1988, but it technically was back in the it was a kind of a split off show called The Main Event. They didn't call it Saturday Nights, but on the network it's called Saturday Night's Main Event. February 1988. This is the epic one where Andre the Giant faces off against Hulk Hogan for the heavyweight championship, and where they have the switch referee. I love this. This is one of my favorite ones. You got it starts off with Randy Savage versus the Honky Tonk Man Intercontinental Championship. And you got a WWF Tag Team Championship against Strikeforce and the Hart Foundation. Jake Roberts versus Harley Race, Demolition. You got Demolition versus Billy Jack Haynes and Ken Patera. You got a lot of Ultimate Warrior versus Sika, Jim Duggan versus One Man Gang, and yes, you got that screw over and what I call the first fucking punch in Hulkamania's face right there, because he had held that belt for what, 4 fucking some years. 4 freaking years, man. He had held that belt for so long, and Andre put a dent in the armor, and it was brilliant. I mean, as a guy who at this point was almost full-fledged heel fan, I loved this show. And I remember the first time I ever saw Earl Hebner, and everybody's like, "You screwed Brett, you screwed Brett," and I got right up, and second row, I got up, looked right at him, and I said, "And you screwed Hogan too," and he looked at me, and he's like, he looked right at me, right in my eyes, and said, "You fucking piece of shit." I was like, right on, man. I love you, Earl.
Oh shit, yes. You fucking piece of shit. Oh man. Well, shit, Doc, we're gonna finish on time this week. What do you think of that? Oh, what do you say we wrap this thing up?
You didn't do your recommendation, sir.
Oh, I'm not. I don't have one.
Yeah, we'll wrap it up.
I don't have one, man.
Mine's good enough, man. And I am
right.
I am going to be posting I don't know if you all have the network and could watch it, but I will be posting my recommendation to our Wrestling with Wrestling page. And with that said, let me get down to business. If you stumble onto this video and you like what you see, well, you're going to like a whole lot more once you go to this guy's page. So I want you to look up youtube.com/Steve Shives, man. It's a shit. It is the shit when it comes down. I mean, I tell you, it's going to enlighten your brain. It's going to open your mind. And you're going to learn some stuff, man. And if you just like the shit that you're watching right here because you like the shit called wrestling, then you want to come over to my shitty YouTube page, which is youtube.com/Boar's Head Bill. That's Boar's Head, that great delicious meat, because you're going to love my meat in your mouth. Boar's Head Bill. And get on over to Facebook, facebook.com/Wrestling with Wrestling, and like our Facebook page, because that is where you're going to find out some great information, some great news, and who's next week's legend's going to be.
Boom. Over. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next week to review not only Raw, but Night of Champions. Have a good week. We'll see you next Wednesday.
Whoop, whoop.